Hi, welcome to another episode of the Rowntree Gardens podcast. My name is Celeste Gonzalez, and I'm an administrative assistant here at Rowntree Gardens. Today, we're going to interview Mr. Bill. When I first met Mr. Bill, he had issues with his TV, and I was trying to help him. That did not work so well. But I discovered that Mr. Bill is one of the most patient, kind, and loving community members here at Rowntree Gardens. He just waited for me. He was cheering me up, and I still could not fix his TV. I had to call in some backup. When I decided to interview him, it was like he just came to me. I saw him, and I'm like, Mr. Bill, can I interview you? He agreed right away with the most biggest smile you can ever see. And this is why we're here today. So here we go. Hello, welcome. I would like to thank Mr. Bill for being here today. I sure appreciate you accepting me interview here. How are you doing today, Mr. Bill?
Speak a little louder.
Okay. How are you doing today, Mr. Bill?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. I'm
All
glad
right.
to be here.
I'm very glad that you feel that way. Thank you. So I like to get to know our community members here at Rowntree Gardens. I like to ask them about their life, their experiences, just to get to know them a little bit better. I've interacted with you quite a few times, and I chose you because you just have the most amazing and contagious smile ever. Look at that.
Thank you.
So, would you mind telling me a little bit about your childhood? Where were you born?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois,
Okay.
and grew up there until and then I went in the Air Force in 1951.
How old were you when you went into the Air Force?
20.
You were 20 years old.
Yeah.
So for your childhood, is there any, did you grow up with siblings, your parents?
Yes, mother and father, and my older brother, 2 years older, and then 12 years later, another brother.
Okay, so it's three gentlemen.
Right. And then 20 years later, another brother.
Wow.
So we're spread out.
Wow, very, very interesting. How would you say your childhood was?
How was the childhood?
Yes.
I think it was quite good. It was a depression,
Okay.
but if we were poor, we didn't know it because everyone else was the same, you know.
Yes.
And all in all, it was pretty much the same. And then as a teen, it was kind of like American Graffiti. You've probably seen the movie.
I have not, but
Oh,
now I
okay.
need to watch it.
Well, cars and drive-ins and double dates and that sort of thing.
Okay, interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, and when you went into the Air Force, how long were you in the Air Force for?
4 years.
4 years. How was that experience?
Very good, very good. It's very good for me because after high school, I graduated actually at 16, not because I was bright, but because my mother put me in school early during the
Okay.
Depression so she could work.
Interesting.
And I had a lot of menial jobs. The GIs were coming back from World War II, and they got the preference naturally, which they should have. And but I went in the Air Force and came out with a trade. I was a mechanic,
Nice.
which served me well for the rest of my life. You know, I went to work for United Airlines for 40 years.
Nice. So that was your job. You were a mechanic for
Yes.
airplanes.
Yes.
How was that?
It was very good. It was
Yeah?
very good. Spent the last year in Japan. and
Interesting.
We serviced the airplanes from Korea. They flew them back for heavy maintenance and then returned them. And in the meantime, or rather I should say before, I got married in 51 in August, and I turned 21 in July, and I got married in August.
Okay.
And my wife was able to come and live on base with me. We bought a small trailer.
Okay.
And we lived on base at Lachlan in Columbus, Ohio. And then my squadron moved to Youngstown, and they didn't have any on-base deal. So we lived in a trailer court and all that. It was good.
Very interesting. So after the Air Force, did you remain in Chicago? Like, did you go back to Chicago?
I went back to Chicago and bought a house in Brookfield, a suburb.
Okay.
You probably heard of Brookfield Zoo. We lived right across from
Nice.
that.
Okay.
Walking distance, yeah, which is great for the kids. But anyway, and then in 1960, transferred to Los Angeles.
Okay.
By that time, I had 5 kids.
Okay, you already had 5. Is there a reason why you transferred to Los Angeles?
Yeah, the weather and also the auto culture. I'm kind of a hot rodder, so.
Okay,
that
interesting. Did you like the move? So you like living in LA area?
Oh yeah, we lived in Hawthorne originally, near the airport.
Near the airport. Okay, nice. So with your job, did you meet anybody? Is there any memory while you were working that just kind of comes back like, this is what you were meant to be doing?
You mean the people I worked with?
Yes. Like
yeah.
Your job, the people you worked with?
Well, and the interesting thing is that I went to United Airlines where I started. They weren't hiring mechanics at the time, but I was able to get a job in the garage.
Okay.
And that turned out to be a blessing because I hate cold weather. And the aircraft mechanics, when they're new, they're in the night shift and they work outside. And in the garage, you did a little bit out. You know, I had to go out and retrieve vehicles and all that, but it was much better. And I found the ground equipment, we called it, had a more family-like atmosphere. The aircraft mechanic is such a big group.
Okay.
It's almost like being in the typist pool, you know.
Okay.
But the garage, we were very close-knit, and so it all turned out good.
That's good. I'm glad that you enjoyed your job. I'm glad that the Air Force gave you that, that knowledge and that experience. But you were also saying that you married your wife right before you turned 21. Would you like to tell us a little bit of how you met your wife?
I was actually 21. She was 20.
Okay,
yeah.
so you were 21,
Yeah.
She was 20.
And we met at a teenage party. It was very small,
Okay.
and the party wasn't all that good. However, I went with my buddy from high school, and she came with her girlfriend, and that's where we met. And then we double dated, and I was just thinking the other day about that. Have you ever heard of Popeye?
Yes.
Okay, you have heard of it. You know
have.
what I'm talking about.
I
Then.
think so.
Okay, when a car comes towards you with one headlight out, you can kiss, your partner.
Okay, I have not heard of that, but that is good.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And so my buddy was in the front seat with the other gal, and I was in the back, and we had just met practically. It was a first date, I think. But anyway, so a car came toward us, and my buddy, he reached over and gave her a peck and this and that, but I was frozen. I don't know. I didn't want to blow it, I guess, or whatever. Anyway, that happened a couple of times, and later my wife said to me, I thought you didn't like me.
Oh no, it was the wrong impression. Oh, that is so funny.
Yeah.
But you were just,
Bashful.
Yeah, and then you were just shy, nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think so.
understandable, especially because you liked her.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
And how did you propose?
Well, we went together for 4 years.
Okay.
And I think, in other words, the proposal wasn't too formal for the simple reason we had already accepted that we were going to get married.
And you guys were going to be together for the rest of your lives.
Yes,
so,
exactly,
okay.
exactly. But when I was in the Air Force, I came back and made it official.
Okay. And then you guys got married. So how many children do you guys have?
7.
7.
5 boys, 2 girls.
Okay. Do you have a spoiled one? Is there
Pardon?
one? Is there one that is the spoiled one? The youngest, the oldest?
Her siblings would say it was the youngest.
Okay.
And it may be, in a sense, that because she's the youngest and lived at home
Yeah.
the longest,
And then everybody took care of her. So it has to be like that. Yeah. Okay. So I've heard that you were really into classic cars. Is that true?
Into what?
Classic cars?
Yes, among other things. All cars.
All
are
cars. So
interesting to
is
me.
that like your passion and your love?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Is there one car that you can say, this is my favorite car, and why would it be?
I think I would probably say, before I left Chicago, before I went in the Air Force, I had a 1940 Mercury convertible that was all customized. It was lowered and let it in. You probably don't know what it is, but it smoothed out the body
Okay.
on the thing. And it's considered a very, very collectible car.
Okay.
However, when I went in the Air Force, I left it with my brother, who raced it and threw a rod.
Oh, no.
Ended up selling it.
So that was your favorite
I think
car
so.
ever.
I think so.
And you owned it. So
Yeah.
did you ever get any other classic cars throughout the years or owned any other classic cars?
With one of my sons recently, we did a little memory deal, and it ended up that I've owned 17 different cars.
Wow.
Now, they weren't all classical by
Okay.
any means. I did have a 65 El Camino
Okay.
before I moved here,
Okay.
and that was really nice. And I also owned a Miata, the first year Miata,
Wow.
and I bought it from a neighbor. And I said I put the top down and drove it the next 5 years without ever putting the top off.
That is so good. So just talking a little bit more about your life and how things were. You've told us that you were in the Air Force, you worked with planes, you loved classic cars, you love your family, your wife, your children. Is there like any lessons that you learned throughout your life that just kind of stood with you? Something that you could say like, wow, that was a really good lesson my whole life.
Somebody asked me a similar question, and what she was talking about was, having your kids love you. And after thinking a little bit about it, I said, the idea is to get respect. And if you get respect, you get love.
And you are a very respectful man. I met you. You're very respectful. You're very patient. You're very kind. So that's why you're surrounded by so much love. I would want you to know that because
Oh, thank you.
it's very true. As a whole, we appreciate you. We love you. And we're so glad that you're part of this community. So just to finish up really quick, I would like to ask if you had any advice for younger generations or future generations, what would you like to tell people from your story, from your life? What would you recommend or advise to others?
Well, The only thing I could say was that life has its ups and downs, and the idea is to hang in there and have faith, and you'll pull through. You'll do just fine.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bill, for being here. I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, for giving us your time, for letting me get to know you a little bit more, and for always having that amazing smile that you do.
Thank
you
you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.